Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bun on.
Oh, I like
Like
you
a
got that pineapple
mess.
bun going thing. How do you
Yeah.
what gel do you use to get it like
I
that?
used to use aloe vera gel.
Just plain aloe vera gel?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you mix it with
Yeah.
water
It's
or just like is your hair
you said
damp? Is your hair damp when you put the gel?
no, it's oily right now.
Oh, okay.
I use coconut oil and olive oil and I'll like slick it and then I'll put the aloe vera gel on top of that.
Oh, okay. Let me take notes. Good to know.
But I did like a deep conditioner. That's why I have it up. So I've had it on there for like 2 days where I oiled my scalp. And so I had a little bit of, y'all know, I had a little bit of chemotherapy, but it was microdose. It was the genetically targeted, fractionated, insulin potentiated, all that fancy stuff.
Oh,
And
wow.
I started getting a little like thinning. So I did this like intense like scalp mask or something that's supposed to help with kind of growing those areas back. So I just bunned it up. I was like, let me put that on and let it sit.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you see my hair. This is it growing. I was like bald,
Yes.
bald. It was a whole family affair. I had because I had a company called The Heroine, where I'm making natural products for hair and for skin, and it was like targeted
nice.
for, like curly haired Afro women, mixed girls and stuff. So, I know quite a lot about like hair and, experimenting with a lot of things. So losing it, my son, I have a 5-year-old son and a 7-year-old daughter. They're about to be 16.
Oh.
And he was like, Mom, how can you be the heroine? How can you be a hair expert with no hair? And so he helped me like he helped me cut it all off. And then my husband shaved it. And then I was like, hey,
Awesome.
we're ready for this.
Like a whole process.
That was a whole process. So I was bald for like 4 months. And then I just started letting it grow. And now it's growing all white. And I'm 39. But
Yeah, yeah. But it grows back like that after you have chemo, though. That's what happens.
It grows back white?
Yeah, a lot of times, like when I grew back, it was like a grayish white color, and then
Like
it
the
darkened
color,
up
yeah.
a bit. Now it's like darker than it's ever been, really. So
You're
yeah,
nice, Karlee. You've got
all the stuff is
yeah,
got bangs.
yeah. Well, in the
You know what, I got
UK, they call it fringe.
yeah,
Oh,
in the
fringe.
UK, they
That
call
makes
it fringe.
sense.
But you know why I've got that, Ananda? Because I've got my dad's forehead, and he's got this expressive forehead where there's lots of lines. So it's definitely from my dad. I know it.
You had the benefit of fringe. Your dad did not.
No, listen to this though. The bangs of the fringe. You see, I don't need Botox because I've got these bangs or fringe going on. But I did get some when I lost my eyebrows. I got them tattooed on. Yeah, you can tattoo your eyebrows on. They never grew back properly, actually. And the lady that did that, she told me that I've got one more wrinkle on this side than I do on that side, and that is why I've got this expressive forehead. So instead of carrying on, when you go in these nice little clinics and all these little ladies at lunch, they get their things done or what have you. She said, you've got that one more wrinkle. And she's like, yeah, you might want to think about getting some injections. And I've not done it. But you know what I've done? I've got the fringe going on. That's it.
The fringe. The fringe won't freeze your whole face. So the fringe is good.
But these expressions are real. I'm keeping it real here, you see.
No,
but forehead
all the way real.
I have to say, you look just like you used to look when we used to watch you.
Thank you.
Really,
I've been through a lot since then, so that's surprising. But
you don't look like what you've been through. And you actually, so I'd like to get started, officially on this show. Thank you so much for coming. And this is like my teenage self is screaming right now. Like you told me that like Karlee and I would be interviewing you, but then like under the circumstances too, like you told me, okay,
right.
You're like, wait, what? Nah, stop. You bugging.
But, life does what life does.
Yeah. But
it does.
I'm really happy to be here too. When I first heard about your podcast and you guys reached out to me, I was like, oh, I have to do that. And, it takes a while to figure out sometimes when you're in the middle of treatments and you're busy with this and busy with that. You're like, when am I going to do it? But I'm super happy we made it work. It's really nice to meet you both.
Yeah. So you had cryoablation today?
Yesterday, yeah. My whole I can't show it to you because we'll probably get banned from wherever you put this. But
look.
Yeah, we're like court sisters.
Yeah, court sisters.
Mine's the apheresis, so it's like the one where they can do the in and out. So they've been cleaning my blood with apheresis. I think I've done it 3 times, and so they're getting all the the junk out. So they need the 2 lines to go blood out and blood in, right? Because they're cleaning it in a machine it's like kidney dialysis, but for your blood.
Oh, okay.
And so I get this pulled out today.
Oh, okay. How long have you had it in?
16 weeks.
Wow, that's a long
Just
time.
4 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for a while. But my little friend, my jewelry,
Yeah.
and you just get used to whipping your stuff out. Like,
Actually, we need to
like,
talk about that, because I'm pretty sure now that I can just strip down no problem. Even if they don't ask me to strip down, I'm just like, hey.
Start taking your clothes off automatically. You're like, what?
Yeah.
When they ask me not to, I'm like, oh, but I already have. Like, I just don't realize it. I'm just so used to it.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy what you get like accustomed to?
Yeah. Today,
it's compared to what you were accustomed to before.
It's crazy. Yeah. Today I had chemo and radiation in one day. And I was like so tired. Every time I have radiation, I'm in a, actually you won't be able to tell, but I'm in a hospital room right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've got my own private room. And the chemo they do on my bed. So like while I'm lying in bed. So I had my face mask going and I had
nice
cold
did spa chemo.
Yeah, it's like spa chemo. But when
I did the cold caps. I did the cold caps the whole time.
Yeah. You did it the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole time. I would start mine like an hour before and keep it on for like 2 hours. And I would keep changing them because you have to keep it cold.
Okay.
To me, the cold caps were worse than the chemo, like freezing my brain.
I know. I had a headache.
Girl. Yes. It's amazing. I was like, this is the hard part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at radiation, I had like it's a teaching hospital. So there were like 3 medical interns like watching me and I'm getting radiated like on like my breast area and like this area too, so I have to just like whip them out and I'm just
and not care.
Yeah.
Like, hey,
like, okay, hey, yeah, sure, yeah, and then keep your arms up and then you're just like flashing everybody, okay, I'm ready, but
all your students are Angie.
Crazy what we go through. So how do you re-nourish yourself after you come out of that? I've been drinking this shake. I really like it. Some of it, like there's only like 1 or 2 things in here I don't like, and the benefit is way better than the detriment. I'm obviously, like you guys know, I was off all sugar doing keto for 5 months. I've done keto forever, it feels like. And so that was really beneficial in starving out the cancer cells because I'm taking kind of a more integrative alternative approach. I wanted to give my body whatever it needed to be able to do its part in the whole process because I felt like that was super important. So I was doing the no sugar strategy. Keto definitely was effective for me. And now I'm transitioning into this more long-term maintenance program and way of eating, which is vegan and not a lot of fat, not a lot of protein. It's really the opposite of what you would think you should do if you're still fighting cancer, which mine isn't all the way gone, so still fighting it, which is a high starch, high fiber approach. And the reason that the studies that I've read support that is because of the phytonutrients being more protective and more beneficial for your body than the sugar that you're getting, because it's a whole sugar. It's a high complex carb sugar, not like white sugar poured into things. It's not the damaging kind, because that's the main fuel our bodies want to live on anyway. So then you get the benefit of the strength, right? And my strength is like, I'm working out every day. I have so much energy doing it like this, as opposed to keto had me a little tired a lot of the time.
Keto. Yeah.
I think keto,
I liked it.
You don't have the carbs, do you? I'm trying this like approach. There's a place called Breast Cancer Haven, and they have like nutritionists that work with them and different types of people. It's based in London and throughout the country in the UK, or in the area. And it's more like eating more fruits and vegetables for like half of your plate, and then a tiny amount of carbs, like a tiny bit, and then all these like fats and proteins and things like that. So it's a little bit different than I've eaten before, but it's supposed to have like the phenol properties, or the phenols. I don't know much about them. I didn't get into the science of it, but more phenol properties that are supposed to be cancer fighting or what have you. But it's not like
the polyphenols.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
It's not too radical because, Ananda, I'm in the menopause. And
are you? Did the chemo send you into menopause?
It sent me into menopause. I haven't had my period. Okay, we're gonna get real. I haven't had my period in 8 months.
Yeah, you haven't.
Wow.
Yeah, and no, the menopause for me is I started off. I had my an injection called Zoladex, so that was like fake menopause, chemical menopause, so to speak.
Mm.
High class drugs and all. And I was on that for 2 years with the drug, and then I had my ovaries out just to play it safe, really, because I didn't know, like, genetic wise what my situation was. Because obviously with breast cancer, genetics can play a big factor, but oftentimes it doesn't really.
Yeah.
So I had my ovaries out as a precaution. And anyhow, I'm in the menopause. And with the menopause, you can have the flattest tummy you've ever had in your whole entire life, right? Which I've always had, right? No matter how big the hips get, the tummy's always flat. And let me tell you,
That's lucky.
Yeah.
I am working. I've got to work. So I've got to do this. I'm doing this new approach actually where I eat less carbs, lots of vegetables and things. And hopefully I'll get back to the nutritionist in a month and tell them how I've got on. But yeah, I mean, I never thought, like, because before this whole breast cancer thing, I had a baby. She was like, well, 9 months really. I was doing Beachbody sort of Shaun T workouts. I was like T25. That was my
I
jam.
was on it. Me too.
I was really on it. I'm telling you. When you lose the baby weight, that's like a big deal, isn't it? And
Yes.
got there, and then I was fine. Chemotherapy, this and that, and then all of a sudden menopause, the weight came on, and there you go. And I'm not saying this because it's like, superficial or what have you, but you've got to get the weight off in the right places, don't you?
Right.
Because you don't want it around your tummy, because that's when all the the bad things take place or whatever.
Right. That stomach fat.
Yeah. Ananda, like you, I'm doing the integrative approach. So, I'm doing, people that on the forums and stuff, that say, oh, don't do chemo, don't do radiation, it's gonna kill you. These are people most of the time that don't have cancer or that don't. And I'm not saying like, like reject it or whatever, but like listen to, you have to find a doctor who you trust and a doctor who will help you save your life. So for me, like my approach is just like, I'm doing everything in my power, right? So, if I'm doing the chemo, I'm doing the radiation. You asked about like, what do I do to rehydrate myself? So I have this I do acupuncture. My Chinese doctor made this for me. And it's basically like, it tastes like dirt. Not gonna lie.
It is dirt. Wait, what's it called?
So, well, it's in so it's called like Formula Magistralis. So it's in French. They speak French here, where I'm from. But it's the ingredients are like Mon cortex, Lysi cortex, Panacea ginseng, Ophipogonis radix. It's like all these
Chinese herbs.
Yeah, all these Chinese herbs. But I really do feel like it makes a difference. Like I'm not, because people are like, oh yeah, the chemo is gonna like knock you out and it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that. And yes, I feel that to an extent. But a lot of the times, like I have energy and like my doctor will say like, oh, you're taking this pretty well. And, your body's like responding really well and stuff. And I think it's because of like the Reiki and the acupuncture and the reflexology and the sauna and the, like this, all these things, like it's a full-time job. Like I'm
full time
from Monday. Yeah. Like I'm at appointments, like, after I'll do acupuncture right before my chemo. And then go to chemo and then do acupuncture like after. And, I'll do, and I think it's working. I think it's, I'm still here, but it's
one good sign that it's working. How do we know? Well, I'm breathing.
Yeah, that's why you can know, really. It's not, I did take a setback, but, it is what it is. And I'm, here fighting, for my kids and stuff. Like, yeah, I know you have your 9-year-old, and yeah, it is what it is.
What did you think, Ananda?
It's a trip.
What did you think when so obviously you were at a doctor or whatever you found, and they said, oh, you've got breast cancer. How did you kind of respond to that? I think we've all kind of respond differently, don't we? Or what did you feel?
I was on the phone in my car on the speakerphone with my doctor. And I don't think they usually tell you over the phone, but I think, I've heard people say, oh, they emailed me the results of my whatever. And I'm like, they emailed you. Wow. Well, clearly you had good results because they don't email you when it's something bad to tell you. They go, we need you to come in, or can you get on the phone? I was like, oh, I got to get on the phone. So I went into it. First of all, let me back up, because of the biopsy, the nurses, the doctor and the nurse that were in there doing the biopsy were like, oh, and then they were whispering to each other and they were kind of off to the side. I was like, oh, something is wrong. They can tell by what they're seeing, something is wrong. And so in my mind, because my mom had dealt with this probably 13 or 14 years ago now, and I walked through her journey with her, I knew that there was a greater chance for me to have it, even though there's been no genetics found with my mother or any of the people in my family that have fought this. There's something, and I also believe that there's an environmental genetics that isn't talked about or really acknowledged by the medical community, because my mother taught me how to process emotions, right? My mother taught me how to eat. My mother taught me how to, all these things that a mother or whoever you're raised by, close proximity, who are your mother figures, my grandmother also in this case, they teach you how to exist in the environment. And there are things that happen environmentally that I think impact our health in major ways that you can't find in a blood test, that you won't discover in a genetics test, because it's not on that level that it affects you, but there is a level that it affects you on that I call environmental genetics. So
you're not just
all of those things.
Clear. You're not talking about environmental as in like outside, like the smoke and the smog and the.
No, you're talking about the environment you're raised in.
Exactly.
Right. Because you'll find families where cancers will run through the family and you'll have no genetic component, but everybody eats the same way.
Yeah.
They've taught each other how to eat. Everybody argues and fights the same way. They've taught each other how to emotionally interact with the environment, right? And I believe that these cancers have all these multiple causes, not just one. There's not one thing that happened to me, in my opinion. There are a number of things that happened to me. I was definitely exposed to some major toxins in the Porter Ranch gas leak, because I lived within close proximity to where that leak was happening. I smelled the gas. I was one of the people that called the gas department in the first couple of days of us being able to smell it before they even acknowledged what was going on. So I know I got exposure to that. I know that I was in a stressful relationship for 10 years. And I don't talk about that a lot because I really respect and love my son's dad, and I have no ill will. I'm not going to talk mess about him. I don't do that. And he is one of the major reasons that I'm able to even do all the stuff that I'm doing. And we had a difficult relationship. That's the truth, right? So the stress that you allow yourself to remain in, because I take full responsibility for that. I allowed myself to be in a stressful environment, and the way that I handle stress, because you can be in a stressful environment and not have it impact your body. I know people who live with stress way bigger than mine and they're not sick, right? But the way that I handle stress, again, back to how my mom taught me to handle stress, how stress was handled in my environment, the way I handle it was very hurtful for my body. I internalize it. I dwell on it. I kind of suffer in it and wallow in it. And that's an unhealthy way to handle stress. Yeah. So my body was saturated with a lot of stress from a lot of environmental reasons as well. And then the food component that we're talking about now on a positive end, but I was a sugar junkie most of my life. And being, an American, our sad standard American diet is pathetic. It's the worst way that you can eat in a human body. And it's the way that we're just accepting, nonstop all day long. I can't go down the street without seeing a McDonald's and a Burger King and a Jack in the Box and a Taco Bell all in a 4, corner radius. And so what you have access to becomes what you choose. And we can talk about how your mental fortitude and your discipline and all of that, and you should be able to resist. The truth is most people can't. The truth is that I didn't. I was an emotional eater, and I would go to sugar when I was unhappy. I was unhappy a lot of the time, so I ate a lot of sugar. So all of these components and elements that go into cancer being able to take hold in your body, as we know, we all have cancer cells in our body, cells that could at some point decide to mutate, go rogue, not die, develop a cancer as a result of that process. Everybody in a human body is dealing with that. And how you choose to do things can determine whether or not you trigger those cancers. So I wasn't surprised that I got the news from my doctor. I again, my mom went through it, a couple more people in my family. So I felt like, okay, this could happen to me. And even though I felt like that, I wasn't doing mammograms because I definitely believed in and still believe that the radiation exposure you get can give you problems. Now, I was looking at it wrong. which is part of what I wanted to share in that original post when I talked about what was going on. And had I not really wanted women to understand that big mistake that I made, I probably still would be just fighting this in silence, because I'm a very private person. There's no, like, what benefit is there to tell a bunch of people, oh, what's going on with my body? Yeah, for what? What are they going to do? I really wanted other women to know and to understand why they needed to make a different choice. You know, if I can serve any purpose, and it can be through sharing mistakes, I want to do that, because we're human and we're going to make mistakes. Now, do other people have to make the same mistakes? No, because if you're able to be honest and open, then you can say, here's what I did wrong. Like, don't do it. We do it for our girlfriends with relationships, right? We say, girl, don't stay with that fool. Like, he's going to do this. I already know who did this to so-and-so. You know, I heard about that fool before. So we help each other out in those ways. Like, let's help each other out in ways that are bigger and serve a bigger and better purpose in our lives. And what is more important than our health, right? We can't do any of the stuff. We can't even be in those bad relationships if we're not here. And so that's the reason I did it.
At what stage then did you start asking for help? Because, you know, like, and how did that make you feel once you realized, okay, you know what? Like, I can't keep this to myself. Okay, I mean, I know it's because you wanted to send the message out to people, but at what stage, you know, Karlee and I always talk about how, you know, like, you have to develop like a tribe and a team, and, you know, you can't do this on your own. And, you know, that's one of the reasons why we also started the podcast too, was to like reach out. First of all, it was therapeutic for me anyway, and like to reach out and for Karlee to reach out to, you know, to people.
You're like, I'm not alone.
There's so many people dealing with this.
Yeah.
Angie's saying
Millions.
is Angie and I are the exact opposite. So she's more open, and I just like kept it all in, I guess you could say. And I just actually told my mom the other day what type of breast cancer I actually had, and it's 4 years later. She just didn't know the specifics or what have you. But I was telling her, Angie, but my mom didn't know, because that's just how I kept it myself. And I did that as like a defense mechanism in my family. My aunt had colon cancer. She died when she was 38. She lived with my family.
Wow.
I saw the whole chemo thing. I've been there. I've done that. And it scared me, and I didn't want to scare my family. So I just kind of like kept it in, because I mean, I live in London. They live in New York. You know, they don't see me. They don't know what's going on.
You don't need to know.
Well, they need
I'm
to know.
right there in front of you.
Yeah, but not enough to scare them. I don't want to scare them, you know. Get them.
I think that was part of what it was for me. It was scary for other people, and because of how I knew I was going to choose to handle it, having seen what my mom went through, having tried to help my other family members with the alternative information. I am a naturalist. I just believe that there's so much our bodies can do, and before I go extreme, I'm going to go natural, right? And if I have to get to extreme, we can do that too, but I'm going to start at the least toxic, least harmful, and build up, right? So I knew that I was going to face resistance, and I'm not someone who likes a lot of drama and stress and arguing. Listen, I can do it really well if I have to. I will go, listen, you don't want to fight with me. You don't want to argue with me.
If you need to.
Right. But I like to avoid it. Like I'm going to avoid it as long as I can, and I'm going to tap you. You know what I mean? Like,
Ananda, I actually read about you and your teachers when you were younger. You would stand up and say something at school.
Oh, I hated me for that. I was the worst because of that. But that same characteristic served me very well in life. I think it was one of the reasons I did so well on TV. I talk a lot. I can, you know. Yeah, so, but I didn't want to fight that fight, because as you both know, for me, when she said the words, yes, we found cancerous cells in your breast, my reaction, to answer your question from long ago, I get on tangents, but that's why your podcast is lovely. We can go anywhere. I didn't feel scared. I felt like I went, wow. All the thoughts I had about, I might have to deal with this, like I was right. I felt like proactive, and I felt like I was thrown into a path of a fight, which, I mean, obviously it is. I felt like I'm about to fight the hardest I've ever fought to stay in this body.
Yep. Kirk Franklin.
It's literally the fight of your life.
Yeah, Kirk Franklin has an album called "The Fight of My Life." The album before that, and I play that heavy on rotation.
Do you?
Yeah.
Music has been so important for me on this too. I want to hear some of the songs you guys listen to as well. I have dance parties every morning.
Yeah, actually, I just came from you'll never get this, but I went to a Christmas Carol event, and it was outside, like a drive-in thing. So they were singing Christmas carols on a lorry, or I guess it would be
truck. We say truck. Americans say truck, Karlee, not lorry.
We say what?
say truck. British people say lorry for trucks.
My truck. I say lorry
For
like
truck?
Yeah, for a
Yeah, like
truck,
a
for a van, a
No,
truck.
like a
They say-
pickup truck.
yeah, they say lorry.
Lorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
Interesting.
definitely, I think music is, I mean, something that's definitely played a big role in my cancer journey. So I am rocking out to and I still do today, actually. I was walking away my power walk in the morning, ran into a friend. I had my MP3 player. She's like, Karlee, what is that? I go, it's my MP3 player with my, with my marathon music, my marathon training music back from 2001. She's like,
oh
what?
my gosh.
She was like, well, I was like, yes. And anyway, so music for me has been very important, and it always has, because I think in song, which I think, yeah, you'll just kind of get to know that as you get to know me. Yeah. And for me, when I had my head shaved, so I had my hair shaving crew with me. Started off with some lovely Emily Sandé music, like, you know, read all about it, all this lovely stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love Emily Sandé. She's great. She's absolutely wonderful. But as the tears started rolling down, it was all back to the Wu-Tang Clan, because that is what I was about to do. I was about to bring the ruckus. And
I love it.
And I've got the bracelet to show it. My cousin got me a bracelet that said "Bring the Ruckus." And for me, in the 90s, like I must have been in like 9th, 10th grade, something like that. Wu-Tang Clan was my thing, really.
Oh yeah.
And we love them. You know, those are like the good old, right?
We're stuck in the 90s, me and Carlee. Like, are you
that's the best era. Why not?
It's stuff that you used to like, you know, VJ to, like your 2000s, 90s. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was tossing to all those videos.
Yeah.
But
So what do
I
you
did
have
not
on your playlist?
Yeah, who's on your playlist? Yeah.
Oh God, so speaking of the 90s, one of my favorite albums that came out in October, Busta Rhymes put out ELE2. I remember interviewing him about ELE1. And that album, oh my God, like I don't even know how he did it, but he brought back some classic, you know, you can barely play in front of the kids because he's cussing all the time. So my son can't listen to the album with me, but the songs are just so, they amp me up. Like you're talking about Wu-Tang, Karlee, like the amp up is really necessary sometimes. And I stay away from those sentimental songs too, because there's enough shit to cry about that I don't need music to make me cry. I want music to make me feel happy, feel like warrior, feel strong. You know, I want to feel something elevated that I can pull from on these days I have to push through. And this album, this Wrath of God, this Extinction Level Event.
Okay.
Girl, this album is crazy. And the extended version has this Eminem song at the end.
Oh, wow.
And
I really, really love that album. So I play it a lot. But also, I play old school stuff like DeBarge.
Okay,
Because I love them.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a group called the Jam Nation. And we have a couple of songs that we just in our own files. Yeah.
Do you sing?
I think about,
or do you play?
4 years ago, I discovered, a little voice, but not like sing like, so we just get together and do live jams. And well, before we got locked down from Corona. Yeah, we get together and do live jams and just songs just start coming out. And there've been some really beautiful songs that just whole songs made up as we go. You know, you can check my Instagram page. You'll see some of them down. There's like 5 or 6 on there that I really love. Like I love those enough to post them, but that's been really freeing. You know, as much as it's really energizing for me to sing other people's music, finding the music in yourself.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. That has been crazy.
The other day, my cousin Jenny and I, so Jenny, she was in the podcast episode before yours, and she's a licensed mental health and like family therapist.
Oh, nice.
If you have a chance, listen to that podcast before, because it talks about like talking about cancer to your kids and how to deal with that, and how to not gaslight them and everything. Anyway, she's like an amazing singer, and we started singing affirmations, and like we wrote, but like with an R&B hip hop kind of style, so it's not so like like, hey, we got something going on here. This could be, you know, like,
I love it.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
That's how music starts. I mean, all the songs you love started, you know, as poems or Billy Joel. I kept hearing this story about Billy Joel. He was doing what's his most famous song? I'm probably going to continue this story up because I'm not good at stories. Yeah. Piano Man? No.
What's that? The Lady Diana.
Oh, My Life. My Life?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that one.
He started singing My Life, like the lyrics. He got the melody and he was like, hamburgers and strawberries and peanut butter jelly, like random crazy words because he loved the melody but didn't know what he wanted to say yet. And he laid that down as a track and like went back and listened to it and then chose words and then found a story to tell. But music just when you talk to people, which, you know, I did for years talking to musicians, when you talk to them about how music comes through them, most of them have said to me that it is like being connected directly to source and downloading something, that they feel like a vessel. And so it's coming from somewhere else, even in their opinion. And even though it comes through them and they kind of mold and shape it, that original free form of the musical expression is a direct download from God, from universe, from source, whatever name we give it, right? From our creator. And it is our birthright. We all, I think, have that connection. It's just that we get it. Other people say, oh, you can't sing. That happened to me. I was told in elementary school by some girl who I thought was really cool, you can't sing, your voice is whack. Like, and then I stopped. I just was like, oh my God, my voice is whack. Like, you internalize and you repeat what they say. They're stupid. You know, like, what? We get thrown off of it, but I think it's the original music. Babies are singing, you know, they're singing.
Yeah. And I think with the coronavirus, that is the hardest thing. And this morning, actually, when I was out on my walk, I told myself, I am not going to stop singing when somebody walks by. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pivot to the right, pivot to the left, get out of their way. And if I have to cross the road in sort of incoming traffic, then I will do that, because I'm not going to get the little particles on them. So I'm not going to break the rules, Ananda or Angie.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. But I'm not going to break up my song just because they're walking by.
It's just like Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
No, I didn't say that. But
they're like, why is she cussing at me?
No, I was like, so today I was like turning my back on people because I was still singing my song, you know? But I think my dream is actually, I don't know if you know the song by Mary J. Blige,
the MVP song? It's a remake of The Game and 50 Cent.
She uses all her song titles from her songs and she makes a song out of it. And I'm telling Angie, I was like, we've got to do that with our podcast. All the podcast titles, we need to do a song like that, but with her beat though. But obviously I need her on the record. But
that's brilliant. You have to do it. It's so much fun too. Like, as long as you're having fun.
Yeah. And you forget about things, you know, like when you're in the flow, when you're singing and when you're creating and you just like, you're in that zone. And like you said, you know, source is like using you as a vessel. You forget about all your problems and all this stuff. And
you do. And you don't even know what you're saying. Like, if you go back and watch, when I see those songs again, and some of them become some of my favorite songs, they're not like full songs or like pieces, right? Whatever we came up with. But I remember how that felt. So hearing all these musicians, you know, say all that, I finally got to experience that myself. And prior to that, I was like master karaoke singer, like loved my karaoke. And probably got more confident, you know, with a voice during karaoke and imitating like Alanis and Amy Winehouse and all these great people I love. But finding my own voice was really amazing. And then feeling that connection, it's very real. It's absolutely real. And it happens. And then you go, oh my God, I don't even know what I just did. And you're doing it live. And if we didn't record it, I wouldn't remember what I said or what the melody was, because it's gone once it comes out.
Once it's out,
you know, and you have to catch it.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is music definitely brings us joy, doesn't it? It makes us sort of.
I'm thinking
universal language.
When the pandemic is over, we got to do a karaoke session together.
Well,
wait, so you're in Geneva and you're in London?
Yeah.
And
okay.
We've got
to meet somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. Yeah, there you go. So I have so obviously with the whole breast cancer thing, right? So it's all very pink, isn't it? It's like, you know, before I got breast cancer, I used to do charity races, lots of running, that sort of a thing. I was all on the pink side, right? And I was like, oh, pink and fluffy, you know, I'm raising this money, doing these great things, etc. And obviously I crossed over to the other side. So my question is, do you think, as obviously in the media and what have you, you know, breast cancer is portrayed as being sort of pink and fluffy and just this cancer that you can get or what have you. What are your thoughts on like the color of it, I guess you could say? Now that you're on the other side with the breast cancer? It's a tricky one.
I definitely know what you mean by that. I'm a carpenter. I got my carpentry degree in 2010 from Trade Tech in LA. I love building and everything. And I saw this whole movement of like women in construction and carpentry. And all of a sudden everybody had like pink hard hats. And I was like, get the fuck out of here with your pink hard hat. Like, what are you doing? Why does everything have to be pink? And why do we have to make things girly? It's like buying into this gender bias thing, but on the opposite side, like neutral means it doesn't have to be my color or your color. Why do we even have to have a color? So I got into that whole thing and I was like, wait, why can't I just accept that other people like that? Even if I don't like it, even if it doesn't work for me, like where is my openness to allowing other people to be themselves? Like I expect people to allow me to be myself, right? So I had to sit with myself on that. Like I was real adamant about it. Like, don't send me a pink hard hat. You know, I'm not wearing no pink hard hat. And I was like, but why not? Like, is the pink hard hat gonna hurt me? No. So I feel like that a little bit about the breast cancer colors too. My personal color for what I'm going through, it tends to fall in like the yellowy, orangey, greeny kind of bright, because sunshine is what I love. You know, I need bright, radiating golden light of healing. And my mind, my visuals that I do in my meditations and stuff, everything is bright and yellow and bold in that frame, right? But that doesn't mean that works for someone else. It doesn't have to. It only has to work for me. And so vice versa. Like I can now get into the idea of I don't even know where the pink came from. Like, I know the origins of the pink, but I think it's, you know, it's a little Pepto-Bismol-y to me. So I get a little stomach upset when I see it too much because it's psychosomatic. But other than that, you know, I'm fine with accepting it now because I'm like, well, if other people, if this is what works for them, then I should be able to accommodate whatever works for people, right? And if I can't accommodate that, that's on me. So I've had to work through it because I definitely felt like that. I was like, oh my God, the pink. Lord.
Okay. I think it's because people like tend to like not take it so seriously, I guess, you know, when it's like all
they minimize it with the pink.
And it's just like, they minimize. It's just like, no, it's not, you know, you're getting this wrong. You don't, you know, like, it's not you beating cancer, you know, this isn't like some kind of like fight death to the match where like, you know, when you die, you lose. We're all going to die. So in that case, we're all going to lose if that's how you look at it. But it's not
this
like,
is just what I'm dealing with in my body right now. And it's such a process. It's such a process of, you know, what you've probably experienced. It's like waxing and waning. Right now, I've done 16 weeks in Arizona at a particular place where I've done this integrative approach, 16 weeks away from my baby. Actually, I drove home for Thanksgiving. So, I mean, 16 weeks away from living with him, and I saw him for 2 days. So, but that has been grueling. Like the hardest part has been being away from my child. And yet, when I got here in August, I could never have imagined that I could do 16 weeks. And now here I am at the end of 16 weeks and I get to go home Sunday. I'm in this kind of ramping, you know, like winding down process now. And it's incredulous. I'm like, I can't even believe I did 16 weeks. But me leaving here, I say all that to say that me leaving here does not mean the cancer my body has, you know, created is gone. It means that I've beat it back down to the point where I'm in normal ranges. And now I have to live like everybody else on the planet should be living, which is in full awareness that cancer could develop in my body, right? Could still come back. I have a greater propensity because I've already dealt with it. I'm clear on that. The tumor, I got this cryoablation, so now my breast is huge, but it'll go back down. The first cryoablation really worked well. It came back down almost to a normal size. And so it's this process of balancing, right? It's this process of waxing and waning. It's like everything in nature, it ebbs and it flows. And so I don't expect to ever have like cancer be totally gone from my body. I think that would be a dangerous thought for me because I would let my guard down again. And this sucker can flare back up. Like you have to be diligent. You have to be consistent and disciplined about how you treat your body. And unfortunately, it took a wake-up call like this for me to get very serious about that. But I should have been doing a lot of the things that I'm doing for years, right? In care of my body and in appreciation of this magically intelligent machine I get to live in and what it needs. And for many people, it takes a scare to get you to act right, you know, to get you to treat it right. but I don't ever expect to just be like done with cancer. I feel like this is going to be a journey that I'm on with one foot or the other for, you know, the rest of my life, which I plan to be a very long time. But like you said, Angie, this has never been to me about avoiding death. You can't avoid death. You're going to die. Like you come in these bodies, you leave these bodies, right? What we can do is extend our lives for as long as we possibly can, because we have a huge amount of control over that, and enjoy them as much as we can in the time that we have. And that is what I plan to do. And I think for me, part of doing that is sharing with other women, like what you guys are doing, what to do, what not what they should do, but what I've done, what I didn't want to do, why, you know, the information needs to be expanded, because when you enter this journey, this breast cancer, whatever kind of cancer, you're given this very narrow scope of like what's possible, right? And I entered that very narrow scope. I got sat down and told by the oncologist in LA, best in the country, or best in the city anyway, you know, this is what we need to do. This is why. This is the chemo we're going to use. This is why we don't do any other chemos. We're not going to test you for genetic, like all this stuff. They told me what they could do. And it was very, you know, if I was a person who gave in to fear, I would have been terrified, right? But I looked at him like, all he can tell me is what he knows, what he can do. He's one doctor. I don't care if he's the best doctor. He's one, right? And there's so many other doctors. There's so many other things. So I am the one who has to determine for myself what I am going to choose to live with and how I want to live, period.
Yeah. And you know what, actually, I think oftentimes when they talk about the fight in cancer, I think that's where the fight comes from. Speaking up with your, you know, to your doctors, us younger patients, they get annoyed with us, don't they?
Oh, they hate us.
We be asking questions. They're just like, no, just do what I say and that's it.
Just do what I say. Right. You can go back and ask my mama. I don't ever do just what anybody says. Like, that's not what I'm going to do. So I don't know what to tell you.
And it's almost like people that aren't, because obviously when you're diagnosed with cancer, it's like this big shock, these feelings come in, and you want to trust your doctors, you want to listen to them. But then, like you said, you realize there are other doctors, you know, other opinions and so on and so forth. And we both had situations with that, Angie, haven't we? Yeah. And I sometimes feel like my biggest fight, so I don't see cancer as a fight. The actual cancer itself is not a fight. It's the admin and all the stuff that you deal with around the cancer.
Yeah, that's the fight. You're right.
And I think, and the biggest thing that I've taken from this really is advocating for myself and my health. And a lot of that, and it's not just about me, it's about my family too. I'm advocating for my family. You know, we're part of this whole cancer journey together, really.
Right.
And it really is, you know, it is an experience where you kind of have to take it and you kind of learn as you go, I guess. And Angie's got loads of stories where she's had to, you know, say all sorts of things.
I've changed into a totally different person. Before I used to be like very acquiescent. Yes, you know, doctor's always right. But this journey, I mean, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer as a non-smoker at 37.
Wow.
And I'm just like, how?
So yours was lung?
Yeah.
And Karlee, yours was breast. Angie, was yours metastasized to lung, or it was lung cancer?
It was it's metastasized to my brain, to my bones, to my neck. Now, like,
wow.
Like it's spreading. And, you know, it's like you said, you know, I was really interested in this like environmental thing you were talking about, because there's a lot now with lung cancer of younger women, non-smoking, healthy, fit yoga instructors, marathon runners being diagnosed with this lung cancer. But it has a mutation, it has a driver. So, you know, we like chemo pills that work until they don't work. And then that's my case.
It changes again.
It changes. And then there's no other targeted medication you can take. And so that's why I'm doing the chemo and the radiation. But like, you know, I've learned to trust my body. Like on 3 occasions, I've found lumps myself before the machines, the scans have found them. And then they go back and they do the scan. They're like, oh yeah, actually, yeah, we do see it.
You're like, oh yeah.
But you know, anyway, I think if we get cut off, sorry.
I thought Zoom lets you go forever now. I thought they removed the time restrictions because of COVID.
Because I see that we've been talking now. What time is it? Is it
1:17 my time? So
it's 9:17 my time. 45 minutes. Okay, so then they didn't cut it off. They didn't cut us off.
Not just go back in if it cuts off. But so lung cancer, you were saying, it just sort of more younger women are getting it and what have you. And then obviously you found lots of different lumps that you've had before the technology has. And how does that make you feel, Angie, finding the lumps before the
Well, it makes
technology?
me trusting my instincts. I'm all into Ananda, I heard that like you were into Dr. Joe Dispenza. So am I.
Yes, love him.
And I do, like walking meditations and like just being in tune with your body, because really
Yes.
it's been taught like at such a young age to just like not trust our bodies, or just like let other people handle it, but we know our bodies best. And
we do.
So I'm just like,
and turning over responsibility for them, because either way, the consequences are yours, right? So you can do exactly what the doctors tell you. And what if that goes left? Your body is still the one that has to go through all the fallout. And the doctors don't have to live through any of that.
Exactly. And they'll just say that it was a consequence of chemo, or it's just, So.
Right.
Actually,
and when you look at what happens in some of these studies, I get really suspicious. Like, what? How? You're putting DCIS breast cancers with these triple negatives, and then you give everybody chemo, and you say, "Look, we cured all these cancers." Well, how many of those didn't need chemo to begin with? And then, of course, if you do chemo, it's gonna work because you're killing everything. So, it's gonna work. And then you're using that to say, oh, look, the way we do this works. When you break it down for yourself and you really get into looking at the studies and looking at the research, and conversely, looking at the studies and research on the alternative ways. And I don't just mean like taking a bunch of supplements. I mean like high dose vitamin C IVs, hyperbarics, like things that are, borderline medical, really. It's like just not conventional, right? But everything that is outside of conventional. There's a lot outside conventional. That's way more than just supplements. What I've done for 16 weeks, I had this cryoablation twice. They did an angiogram embolism through my arteries, found the blood vessels that the cancer was feeding itself with, severed them and embolized them to cut the blood supply to the cancer tumor off. I mean, it's like being in freaking Star Trek. There's so much more that you can do, right? And I've had quercetin and methylene blue and artemisinin. I mean, so many IVs. I'd have like 7 IVs a day on my long day, my 8.5-hour day, which was Tuesdays. I'd have 7 bags, and then shots of Pro NK immune boosting killer cell shots. And then I'd have vitamin D pushes. Like, all these different things are things that have been shown to work on some level. And then I don't know about where you guys live, but here in the States, like the FDA and what they allow you to use stuff for, it's such bull. Like, it's unbelievable what they limit. And coming to Arizona was necessary for me because it's one of the only states in the United States where they're kind of like the wild, wild west. They can do pretty much whatever they want to do. An integrative doctor can take this and that and that and this. And I've heard of, veterinary medicine being used on them. I mean, they can do whatever they want.
They use that dog pill to
the dewormer.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have something available there now for veterinary medicine that we're just about to get. It's called Stelfonta. I'm doing major bets on Stelfonta because what it's shown to do with all kinds of cancers, brain, lung, liver, breast, all kinds of cancers on their human tests so far is in like 48 hours, it dissolves the tumors, gone completely. No thresholds. There's no toxic tolerance in your body. You can't OD on it. And it is the extract of the blushwood berry tree in Australia. So this Australian company is the one that's patented it and is, extracting it and doing all this. But it is showing such amazing results in dog solid mass tumors. They say on the packaging, because they have to do all this legal stuff like, oh, not for metastasized. Yeah. But in the studies, they injected I think it was a breast tumor. Anyway, they injected a tumor and it went and got the metastasizes too. I mean, so it's doing things that they can't necessarily say because then they have that whole legal thing, but that's what you have to get under. Like, that whole legal thing is really prohibitive to you accessing what you want to do for your body. And I should have access to whatever I want to try. I'll sign whatever legal waiver. I'll sign whatever you need me to sign to make you feel comfortable. I'm not going to come back and sue you. Like, I'm taking full responsibility for trying it. But let me try what I want to try. This is my body and my life.
Yeah.
Who should be able to stand in the way of that?
Yeah, I'm
It's unbelievable.
I'm going to ask you a difficult question now, Ananda. You might hate me for this. I don't know. Hopefully not. But obviously, in the UK, we can use the NHS health insurance, so the National Health and Service, which is like, you can get your medical care not for free, but you pay it in your taxes, so it's like a higher tax rate here. So I've got private insurance. Angie has private insurance. What would you say for the average American, so to speak, that is in sort of different circumstances, possibly to ourselves, in regards to getting the best access to those sort of things? So it is a pressing question, I think.
So what would I say to Americans to get access to the alternative side of stuff?
Yeah.
Like I've always heard of like people having fundraisers. They get cancer, they like lose their house.
Yeah.
Fundraisers, and they do all these sort of things, and it breaks my heart when I hear about these families having to throw barbecue chicken dinners and all these fundraisers
to raise money,
of the treatment and stuff, and they totally just, they could lose their homes and things over that. So what would you say to the average American that doesn't have the access to say something?
Well, the insurance will cover in some cases your standard care, but I've even heard of instances like you're talking about, having to have bake sales, having to have chicken dinner sales for people who are doing standard conventional care, but their insurance doesn't cover 100%. So like my insurance would cover 80% of whatever I wanted to do within what they condone, right? And because I went outside of what they condone, they don't cover anything. They wouldn't cover my port. They wouldn't cover my PET scans, things they would cover normally if I was doing it their way. PET scans are still a part of it. A port would still be a part of it. An MRI would still be a part of it. They won't touch it. Mm-hmm. And I say we need to either, I don't know. I think that insurance companies, it's shameful that you're taking my money all year long, but when it comes to me needing that service, you get to pick and choose. Mm-hmm. And you get to tell me what I can do and not do. I think we need an overhaul of the whole insurance and healthcare system in this country. I think that's a long way off. But in the meanwhile, some people aren't even getting conventional covered, right? And so they're having to fill those gaps. If it's like me, 80-20, like they're still having 20% of $150,000 is still a lot of money for people to come up with, right?
My pill that I take monthly in the States costs $17,500 a month. And I have to take this for the rest of my life. And so even if I'm paying 10% of that, that's still like rent. So
a lot. Yeah, I'm on two pills. One is $22,000 and one is $32,000 a month. I completely understand you. Here we have organizations you can go through and they'll, talk to you and see what your financial situation is, or just talk about whatever they need to know for their stuff. And they'll cover that. So one of them, he ended up saying, okay, well, you haven't gotten it yet. You don't need to get it because they kind of do the same thing. They're pathway inhibitors. They're not chemos, but they're pathway inhibitors. Yeah. And so, but the Lenvima is like $22,000 a month. Thank God they're covering it. I pay like a fraction of that, but I don't know what people do. I would say that people need to really look at the resources in nonprofits, because there are a lot of really good nonprofits out there that are trying to help in that way. But to me, what doesn't make sense is that there's people like who I just read about yesterday, Mackenzie Scott. I guess she's Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, who just became a billionaire with their monumental divorce. Right. So she gave away $6 billion in charity, in like donations.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And after I picked my mouth up off the ground, I was like, do you know how much? $6 billion? Like, give me one of those billions. Every woman who wants to come do the work that I've done could be here. So I think it's about using the money creatively. Like that money gets put in places where I don't know how much good it's doing. I don't know where she gave it, but I know that if I had $6 billion, we could solve a lot of problems, because you have to have people with their hearts in the right place in charge of that money to make that money really work, right? So when I get out of here and I have all this private content, I would love to be able to share somehow, probably do it through a subscription service so people can kind of watch every moment of this, that I've recorded everything. So I have my biopsy and everything on tape. So recording it all and sharing it so that I can raise money so that I can buy like this. You know,
Yeah, I
you
like
talk about the sauna, my sauna and my rebounder. That sauna is like $1,600. It's an amazing piece of equipment, but not everybody can afford that. There's about 15 women that I've been in direct contact with since my, you know, sharing everything that was going on with me. And they're like, well, what are you doing? Well, how are you, you know, all this information we're sharing. They can't afford to buy a $1,600 sauna. That's rent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
true. These are like single moms and women who are supporting people. Like they can't splurge on that, but that's not a splurge. That's for your life.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for your detox, you know? And so if they could do that every day in their homes and I can provide that, that's what I'm going to be doing going forward. So maybe the answer is really just, and what I would say to Americans is, one, we have to change our healthcare system. We're the ones paying for it. We have to recognize how much control and power our dollar has. But